Browns preparing to face the Ravens on Sunday at Huntington Bank Field, and that means another opportunity for Myles Garrett to try and sack Lamar Jackson, something he has done 8.5 times in his career so far. Mary Kay, this is always a marquee matchup. We're going to get to Lamar Jackson in a minute, but the Baltimore Ravens all week have been nothing but complimentary of the Cleveland Browns, and that continued over the last 2 days, nothing but complimentary of Myles Garrett.
Oh, they are raving about Myles Garrett. Not only are they talking about how great he is this season, but they are referring to him as the greatest of all time. That's lofty praise. That came from John Harbaugh. That came from Mark Andrews. So they are puffing Myles up before this matchup. And who knows, maybe there's a method to their madness, but I'm sure they absolutely 100% feel that way. But maybe they are trying to soften him up a little bit as they head into this game.
I don't know if it's possible to soften up Myles Garrett. He even said today, Mark Andrews was saying great things about him, calling him one of the best athletes ever, calling him maybe the best defensive player of all time. And Myles said, it doesn't mean I'm not going to run through his chest on Sunday. So they can try to soften him up, Ashley, but I don't know if it's going to work on Myles.
Yeah, I don't think so, especially in this matchup. We know how much Myles Garrett loves going up against this Ravens offense, and especially Lamar Jackson. And, I thought Myles was interesting talking about Lamar today, because all week everyone's been saying, oh yeah, it's the same old Lamar since he's come back from his hamstring. And Myles actually said he thinks he's staying in the pocket a little bit longer. So it seems like there's even something in this matchup Myles has kind of glommed onto that he thinks he can take advantage of.
So let's talk about Lamar Jackson, because obviously he popped up on the injury report, did not practice on Wednesday, was back on Thursday. He is good to go on Sunday. So Mary Kay, any break that the Browns might have gotten in this matchup, potentially facing Tyler Huntley or somewhat Cooper Rush instead of Lamar Jackson, they are going to get Lamar Jackson on Sunday.
Right, and was there any real doubt about that? Once he came back from the hamstring injury, which cost him 3 games, he's been back for 2 weeks now, you had to know that he was going to go out there and play against the Cleveland Browns. They are 1 game out of first place behind those Pittsburgh Steelers, and they have everything in the world to play for, and they know how tough this Browns defense is and what this game means. So I never really ever thought that Lamar wouldn't play.
Yeah, and look, I mean, let's be honest. If you're going to a football game at Huntington Bank Field on Sunday, you want Lamar Jackson to be out there. He's one of those guys that if you've never seen him live, you've got to see him live. So obviously, I'm sure Browns fans would have loved it if he was out. But also, if you're going to watch the Ravens play, at least watch him play with Lamar.
Yeah, and Browns fans have gotten their share of games without Lamar in recent years. The Browns have made starts against Snoop Huntley a handful of times, and it really is just not the same. I think these two teams, again, there's always potential in this specific matchup for weird things to happen. This Browns defense, I think, is at its best a lot of the time when they have to go against Lamar Jackson.
Now, on the injury front, no Alex Wright, no surprise there. Denzel Ward did pop up with an illness. He wasn't out there when we were out at practice, but he's good to go. So Denzel Ward will be out there. Maliek Collins, we're keeping an eye on him. He felt something early in practice, so he's questionable for this game. Obviously, Mary Kay, that would mean a little more Mike Hall, who only played 3 snaps in the last game.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. I guess Mike needed a little bit more time to come back from that very, very serious knee injury. But I do think that Maliek Collins will probably end up playing with that oblique. He's having a tremendous season. He's tied for second on the team with 4 sacks, and their defensive tackle position has just been such a strength this season, largely because of Maliek. So they really, really need him. Every time you look up, he's active. He's around the quarterback. If he's not sacking the quarterback himself, he's helping create a sack. And so they really, really need him. But certainly there could be more snaps for Mike Hall.
Yeah, and Ashley, Maliek has been so important, too, to Mason Graham, who obviously hasn't put up the big sack numbers, but you see 94 in the backfield. You see him hitting the quarterback, having an impact, and he's talked a lot about how much Maliek has meant to him. So just having Maliek in the building with Mason Graham, I think, has helped him develop.
Yeah, and Mason's very first half sack of his NFL career came with Maliek Collins. They teamed up for a twist stunt against the Packers. And look, I think they play really well together. And I think the biggest reason Maliek has helped Mason is he's played in this kind of system for basically his whole career. He's a vet, and he's one of those D tackles that is going to get after those quarterbacks. So Mason is learning from one of the guys who's done it the longest.
Okay, let's make some picks. I got a bee flying around me here. Let's make some picks here for Browns at Ravens. Browns versus Ravens. This bee just had me all thrown off. Browns versus Ravens, Sunday, 1 o'clock, Huntington Bank Field. Let's make our picks. Let's do our storylines. Ashley, why don't you lead us off with your storyline and pick?
Yeah, I think I am going to go with how exactly this Browns defense is going to contend with Lamar Jackson. As we mentioned, Myles Garrett said he's seeing some things a bit different on film, but I'm really curious to see how Carson Schwessinger is going to look in this game. Obviously fought his way back from that high ankle sprain, and I think they're going to use him as that spy, as we've seen them do with their linebackers before. So all that being said, this defense has a good game. I think maybe they would have a chance, but I'm having a hard time picking this Cleveland Browns team right now after they lost the last 2 weeks when I picked them to win. So I'm going to go Browns 23, Ravens 17. I think they're catching Baltimore at a bad time.
I think they're catching Baltimore at a bad time too, and I picked the Browns to lose on Sunday. But let me see if I have it here. My fortune cookie that I got. Maybe I didn't bring it out, but I got a fortune cookie today, and it said, I'm digging through my pockets. I'm swatting bees here on the sideline. It basically said a surprise is going to happen in November. So that's my storyline. Look, I did a newsletter today on like the 3 memorable Browns games since I've been on the beat, and they were all these crazy Browns wins except for that one Monday night loss. But there was the game last year. There was the overtime game with Baker Mayfield, 12-9. I don't know if anyone remembers that game, but I don't know. For some reason, I just got a vibe that this Browns defense is going to step up and make some plays this week. So I don't normally do this, but I think I'm going to pick the upset this week. I think it's going to be close. Maybe it's an Andre Schmidt field goal, a little bit like that Packers game. I think I'm going to take the Browns 16-13. They put a little bit of that noise behind them finally, because just weird things happen when these two teams play. And I got that fortune out of the fortune cookie. So, Mary Kay, for some reason, I'm picking the Browns.
Well, that would really, really be something if they can knock off the Ravens, because if they actually could do that, they have more winnable games coming up. And if they could keep it going, they could just make things a little bit interesting in this crazy AFC North. And these guys certainly feel like they can do it. Myles talked a lot about that today, that they just have to knock them off one at a time. So we'll see if you are right, Dan. I'm not necessarily feeling it, and that's probably because I've gotten burned in each of the last 2 weeks picking the Browns to win in New England and in New York. But here's what we have to remember. The Browns cannot win on the road this year. Sure. They can't win on the road, but they can win at home. So you might be right about this, Dan, but I'm just not prepared to go there yet. I'm still taking the Ravens in part because their defense is playing lights out over these last 3 games, holding teams to 13-some points. They've gotten 7 takeaways over the last 3 weeks. They've hit quarterbacks 19 times over the last 3 weeks, and the list goes on and on and on. So I'm taking the Ravens to win this one 24-16.
And it's probably a bad sign that I couldn't actually find the fortune from the fortune cookie. That's not a good sign for my prediction. Anyway, we'll cover whatever happens at Huntington Bank Field on Sunday at cleveland.com/Browns.